take the Sinn Féin seat instead of Martin Kenny?
Yes, that's
a possibility.
That's another possibility. There are so many different possibilities, but you have to go back to this resurrection. Fascinating.
That's the big
story here, and nationally, it's.
When you talk about the change, just go back to the last election. Fianna Fáil didn't take a seat in Donegal, in Sligo, in Leitrim, in Roscommon, in Longford. It was, and today we look and see what's happening. So it's a huge swing back. And I'd say there'll be many people who'll spend long hours wondering, was there one thing or was it just a series of things? Overlooking it and seeing what happened. The campaign, I think, didn't go as well for Fine Gael as they might have wished. I think there's no doubt about that.
Just interesting what Seamus, just remember, Enda Kenny was unbackable to be returned to Taoiseach. Up to a very, very short time ago.
But then Enda Kenny made some very bad mistakes during the campaign itself.
What do you think those mistakes were?
Well, I think one of the it might not register on the Richter scale as a huge mistake, but to me, it registered with the public. Like that remark about whingers.
Yeah.
I mean, the man didn't have to say that. So then he said it, and he put himself in a place where now he has to go on the defensive. And it took him 2 days to apologise and, say he was sorry.
And he was talking about Fianna Fáil apparently, and not about the people of Castlebar.
Nobody believes that for 1 second, That was a ridiculous sort of excuse.
Does that make a difference? As someone who's been in journalism as long as you have, Seamus, some might say that was a nothing story. The media were looking for something because it was a very lacklustre campaign and there were no real issues and no real stories, and then they latch on to a throwaway comment.
If you've got to have a story of some sort, right? Yeah. So you've got to fill the airspace or the columns. So the Taoiseach comes along and gives them what they're looking for. And then there's a big deal about it, right?
Yeah.
What he should have done was he should have said, I stand by what I said. This country has a lot of whingers, right?
He did stand by it originally, and then he changed his mind.
He did change it. He should have stuck with the original. Once you made the thing, the statement, stick with it. And a lot of people might have agreed with him.
Yeah.
But he should never have said it in the first place anyway. But I suppose the big question now is, irrespective of how this goes here, I'd say the big question is, how are they going to form a government?
Well, nobody seems to know, and we've been speaking to Paschal, obviously, and Sean McAniff and John Ellis, and all three are adamant that Fianna Fáil should not go into government.
Well, then I don't see how we're going to get any government. We're going to maybe have another election. I don't think anybody wants that.
Yeah, I mean, I said that earlier. I think that when the votes are all counted and the numbers are in, the largest party obviously has a responsibility to try and form a government. If that were to collapse, then I think the electorate might, it's hard to know how the electorate would react. But there, a lot of people will say, be it true or false, that, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, okay, what's the difference between them? There are differences, there's no doubt about that. But people will say it, look, we elected you in those numbers, go and do it, make it work. And that's what they say politics is, the art of the possible.
Yeah.
So, I think people would not be happy if there wasn't a genuine effort, Seamus, to make it work. No matter how hard it is, because that's what you're elected for,
I agree with Marian. I mean, at the end of the day, the politicians are going to say sometime in the middle of next week or whenever, we got a mandate here from the people of Ireland.
Yeah, they'll blame the electorate.
And the mandate is for Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael to get together and form some kind of a national government to take us through the next 5 years, which is probably what should happen. From Fianna Fáil's point of view, they probably will be fearful that Sinn Féin will occupy the opposition space and grow.
And they'll be squeezed in terms of an identity.
And they'll be squeezed.
But if the seats are very close here, then I think where the danger for a party is if they're a much smaller party.
Yeah.
But if you have two parties that are roughly equal, 3 or 4 seats between them, whichever way it goes, then they really are equal partners.
And nobody got swallowed up.
That's it.
Okay, and I'm interested in this, and the listeners are interested in. Presumably, that means you're going to have a rotation of Taoiseach.
It may well be.
Yeah.
I don't know how that'll work, and that's going to take some kind of negotiation.
Okay.
But it's going to be very, very interesting period ahead.
And do you think, Seamus, that Enda Kenny will still be leader of Fine Gael?
No, I don't.
Do you not?
No, I don't.
Okay. So you think we'll have a change in leader of Fine Gael?
I think we will. And I'd be looking at Frances Fitzgerald as a kind of she could slip in between the likes of Leo Varadkar and Simon Coveney. She'd be the kind of compromise candidate, very presentable, very clever lady.
She's on the Kenny side of the party as well, the party
exactly,
Kenny wing.
Yeah.
Not that will.
No, but I mean they're going to have to get somebody, and I think it might be her.
Yeah, isn't politics fascinating? We have nobody elected here yet.
I say, well, that's what people. And as I say, he was 20 to 1 on, 20 to 1 on to become next Taoiseach only a couple of weeks ago, and here we are talking about the possibility that he might not even be leading Fine Gael.
Well, I think he made a bit of a mistake when he didn't call the election in November.
Yeah.
I think Fine Gael were ready for it. They were primed. They were all geared up for it.
Yeah, but Joan was having none of it, seemingly.
Joan was having none of it, and then every day after that date was one more day where you could make a mistake.
Yeah.
And he made a few.
Okay. You enjoy all this anyway, Seamus. You do.
Sure, I'm addicted to it.
You were never a supporter of the electronic voting, no?
No, I remember back in the old days in the Gilhooly Hall. When I came in here this morning and I looked around and I saw all these computers and electronic gadgets and everything, and I said to myself, God be with the days when we had a pencil and a notebook. That was it.
John or Noel, you want to say anything to Seamus? And John, you remember those days as well?
Yes, indeed.
You had about 20 pencils hanging out of you back then.
We've seen it here this morning when I had to go back down to the mental arithmetic again when all systems were crashing here, and Paschal was saying these are not the figures we have on our screen, where are you getting them from, etc. It just goes to show you, and Marian I think will bear us out on this, we got the education that time that we had to do mental arithmetic, and when we had to stand on our 2 feet, we stood on our 2 feet, and we didn't count on our fingers.
You have to be able to add them up. So you have.
Okay, Seamus, thanks for joining us. You're sticking with it, I'm sure. This is, as you said,
I've lived nearby, so it's very convenient for me to pop in and out.
Just before Seamus goes there,
work away.
Can we just go, Seamus, I was very interested there in Frances Fitzgerald. Yes, that's amazing. Again, going back to what we talked about here earlier, we've over 50% of the population here in this constituency are female. We had 3 female candidates. Only a very small percentage voted for female, and yet our leaders are now coming female. I have nothing against that, but isn't it ironic? Joan Burton, now Frances Fitzgerald, probably, and be a very good leader and all.
Yeah, well, you're assuming,
what's happening at grassroots?
Well, you're assuming, John, that Joan Burton is going to be staying on as leader of the Labour Party there, are you?
Well, she has served her time as a female, as a leader. We've seen them come along on it. What I'm really querying here is what's happening at grassroots levels with the girls, as I referred to them this morning.
Okay.
Well, just before I go, I don't think Joan Burton's leadership would be tenable after this massacre that the Labour Party have just endured. So I think she'll be another victim of the whole fallout.
Yeah, and it's interesting now because we made the point earlier, the Labour Party have had reasonably proud tradition in this constituency, certainly in the Sligo area, and of course Declan Bree served as a TD for Labour for 5 years between 92 and 97. But the Labour Party really isn't functional at all at the moment, certainly in Sligo. It's not the case.
Not really, and I just think that she's going to be another victim of this election, basically.
Okay. Right. Okay. I think we'll take a break. Just in terms of the rugby, it's despite the roars next door for people who are watching it live, England are leading by 6 points to 3. It must be half time at this stage.
Just Niall, a quick one again for those who are interested in the national picture. I mentioned Mary Hanifin earlier. I just got a text to say Mary Hanifin concedes defeat.
She concedes defeat.
That's what my text says, and I expect it's accurate. But Fine Gael will take 2 seats. And it's 2 women, Maria Bailey and of course Mary Mitchell O'Connor with her Sligo connections. Well done to both of them. And I just see here a national estimate. Fine Gael 47, Fianna Fáil 44.
44 did you say, 45?
That's the estimate
Okay,
here,
it's very
44.
close, so
Very
That would
close.
leave Fine Gael the bigger party by a
Yes, it would.
Just about.
Yes.
Yeah, just about. But the one good thing about that is that neither party will feel that they're being diminished by going into a coalition with one another. It'll be 50-50.
Doesn't mean they will, though.
Doesn't mean they will.
Yeah, okay.
Does not
No,
mean
you
they
wanted to
will.
make a point about that, or do you want to make a point about England going ahead against Ireland? No.
No, I don't know. I just want to say, like, you know, we're looking here at this constituency, and you know, it's just not clear which way the last seat will go.
Yeah.
It can go to Fine Gael, it can go to Fianna Fáil, and there's 40 constituencies, and I'm sure that's been replicated in not all 40, but in lots of them around the country. So, I mean, to be deciding how many seats Fine Gael will get or Fianna Fáil at this stage is a bit premature. I know all the pundits is putting these 40s and but it is a little bit premature because, I mean, a small swing, even in half the constituencies, would make a huge difference.
Yeah, it might be premature, but it's great crack, Noel.
It's great crack, and particularly if you weren't involved in it, Niall. But, I mean, you know, I think the other thing is it's a bit premature to be talking about leaders. I have no doubt there will be the leaders of both Fine Gael and Labour will be coming under fierce pressure in the next week or so, but I mean, to be talking about their successors at this stage is a bit premature. I mean, we were talking earlier and everyone had sympathy about TDs that's losing seats around the country, and everyone, including yourself, Niall, was in total agreement with it.
So the same should apply to the party leaders.
Well, I'm not saying the same sympathy should apply, but I mean, it's a bit premature to be talking about who might succeed them.
So
I do believe that they're under pressure.
Okay, so it wasn't you on the Paddy Power website earlier on. It must have been someone else looking for odds. Anyway, okay. I'm only kidding of someone else.
Well, just to finish on the point that has just been made.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, politics is the real world. And, you know, no matter how much sympathy you might feel for any particular one, leaders and all, the hammer will come down on them pretty quickly. Things will move on.
Yeah, and it's a point. It's interesting you should say that, because I was watching Pat Rabbit on the Late Late Show last night. He was making exactly the same point.
Right.
It's a tough place to be when you're leader of the party.
Yeah, and you know, if you set out, and as in my opinion, Fine Gael had this to win, but they lost.
Yeah.
They just threw it away. Their slogans were terrible. Their debates were terrible. Taoiseach made some, you know, bad mistakes, and there's a price to pay when that happens.
Okay, there is a sense, and I'll just throw it out there for you before we take a break, is that it doesn't matter who's in government, that the way the Irish electorate has become, they're going to kick whoever's in government.
That's it.
And it doesn't matter if it's Fine Gael or Labour or Fianna Fáil and the Greens, whoever, that there's just a mentality amongst the Irish electorate that we're going to oppose what's there.
Well, I was just saying to somebody earlier on, the modern Irish voter expects a return on his or her vote. You know, the day when you could vote anybody in and kind of leave it alone and everything will be fine, that's gone.
But Niall, if it was just that, then you'd have found that the independents, the people before profit, all of those, and I don't know how they're doing, but we roughly see here that would be higher. I think it's more than that.
Okay.
That is certainly a part of it. As you say, you know, people have to earn the votes, and when you're there you have to account for it. But I think it's more than that, Niall.
Okay.
I think it's more.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back, and then we'll take a national update at 6 o'clock. Seamus Finn, thanks very much for joining us.
You're very welcome.
It's been very enjoyable having Seamus Finn in with us, former editor, of course, of the Sligo Champion. Back again in the Clarion Hotel in a couple of minutes.
The range of facilities we offer here would include 20-metre swimming pool, we've got jacuzzi, sauna and steam room, we've got an extensive gym with over 60 pieces of equipment, we've got a separate fitness studio where we do a huge range of fitness classes as well. Currently we're the only facility in the Northwest to hold the White Flag Excellence Award, which is a quality award for leisure centres and spas.
We operate in two restaurants in the hotel. One is modern European food, and the second is with Asian influence. Our food is celiac friendly. Our chef's going to be more than happy to help with any special requests.
Sligo is surrounded by many tourist attractions, and in the last few years it's become extremely popular. Just out the road there's Yates Grave, and also the coastline such as Ross's Point and Strand Hill. We also offer surfing and hill walking also.
You have the most fabulous 19th century building, complete with Elizabethan facade. It stands on its own grounds, 3.5 acres to the front, with ample complimentary car parking.
What makes the Clarion Hotel in Sligo unique? It's the largest hotel in the northwest. It has the largest number of suites of a hotel in Ireland. We would cater for families in the holiday season, corporates at other times of the year. We would also host many national conferences and events, and we would be a very popular wedding venue with the unique facilities we have here with the churches and the Elizabethan facade of the hotel.
The range of facilities we offer here include 20-metre swimming pool, we've got jacuzzi, sauna and steam room, we've got an extensive gym with over 60 pieces of equipment, we've got a separate fitness studio where we do a huge range of fitness classes as well. Currently we're the only facility in the Northwest to hold the White Flag Excellence Award, which is a quality award for leisure centres and spas.
We operate in two restaurants in the hotel. One is modern European food, and the second is...
Right, okay, figures. They're all looking for figures according to Francie and John, and we will go through. Maybe we'll just repeat the final tally again for people who are coming late to our broadcast. The final tally is in since, 3:15 or so. We're expecting the first count sometime between 7 and 8 o'clock, and the final tally, which is always very, very accurate as we know, topping the poll will be Mark McSharry of Fianna Fáil on 8,763. He'll be followed by Jerry Reynolds of Fine Gael on 6,505. Tony McLaughlin is next on 6,083. Then Martin Kenny of Sinn Féin on 6,079. Followed by Eamon Scanlon of Fianna Fáil, 5,765. Paddy O'Rourke of Fianna Fáil is next on 5,174. Chris McManus of Sinn Féin, 4,721. John Perry of Fine Gael, 4,298. Declan Bree, Independent, 3,176. Marie Casserly, Independent, you just heard from Marie a while ago here, 2,675. Susan O'Keefe of the Labour Party, 1,803. Nigel Gallagher, People Before Profit, 1,741. Followed by Bernie O'Hara, Independent, 1,233. Des Guckian, Independent, 1,050, 1,050. After Des Guckian, Finbar Filan, Renewa, 870. Then Leslie O'Hora of the Green Party on 578. Followed by Eamon Murray, Independent, 329, and Bernard Sweeney, Independent, on 121. Right, Francie, they're looking for figures, and we're only too glad to do that. What boxes were they looking for again? And we'll go through them.
John, they're looking for, I tell you where they're looking for figures for is for Kinlaw. John, if you have them there. And then Marian will go through a few of them in Sligo then.
Okay, John, have you got Kinlaw to hand?
Yes, we have Kinlaw here. Kinlaw, both 1 and both 2. Bree, 28 and 15, both 1 and 2. Casserly, 15 and 20. Filan, 10 and 5. Gallagher, 14 and 14. Guckian, 8 and 8. 69 and 70 for Keaney. 16 and 23 for McManus. McSharry 99 and 58. McLaughlin 17 and 25. Murray 2 and 0. O'Hara 12 and 15. O'Hora 4 and 2. O'Keefe 6 and 3. O'Rourke 19 and 17. Perry 6 and 3. Reynolds 34 and 45. Scanlon 8 and 12. And Sweeney 0 and 0. Remarkable there that the people of Kinlough are so evenly split in both booths.
Yeah. Right, thanks for that. That's Kinlough. Francie, we also had a query, I think, about Killarney, is that right?
Yeah, Killarney.
I have.
Yeah, Killarney, and there are two booths in Killarney, Community Centre in Killarney.
That's right. We have Bree on 29 and 35. And who's next? We have Casserly on 14 and 21. And then we have Phelan on 2 and 6. We have Gallagher on 16 and 11. We have Guckian on 1 and 0. We have Kenny on 1 and 4. We have McManus on 71 and 52, which is a very significant vote there. That's 123 votes. We have McSharry on 52 and 50, which is 102. We have McLaughlin on 16 and 36. We have O'Hara on 4 and 3. O'Hora on 1 and 2. O'Keefe on 22 and 21. And Perry on 35 and 26. Reynolds on 0 and 2. So what's interesting, they're actually, hold on, those are the Clooney booths I'm calling out.
No, they're fine. They were
Killarney, Clooney.
Yeah, they were Clooney. I'm only after spotting that now because Killarney moved. So we'll start with Killarney again. Apologies to listeners. So we're starting with Killarney, 29 and 35. Sorry. For Bree. 14 and 21 for Casserly. 2 and 6 for Phelan. 22 and 16 for Gallagher. 3 and 2 for Guckian. 4 and 2 for
Martin
Kenny. 46 and 31 for McManus. 44 and 36 for, is that McLaughlin? No, McSharry. So that's 44 and 36 for McSharry. 22 and 26 for McLaughlin. 10 and 6 for
Bernie O'Hara.
Yes. 1 and 1 for
Leslie
O'Hara. And 24 and 17 for
Susan
O'Keefe. And then the last one of note is 50 and 45. Is that John Perry?
That's John Perry.
Yes. And
there's another significant one, Eamon Scanlon at the end.
Yeah. I just can't see it here. Yes, 67 and 36. So is that's the best vote out of all of those boxes for Eamon Scanlon?
It is indeed.
Yeah, that's 103 votes for Eamon Scanlon there.
Drum Ciaran they're looking for now. Next, if you have it. John, have you Drum Ciaran?
Yes, we have Drum Ciaran here. Both 1 and 2.
We'll go to Marvel after that then.
Starting with Bree. Booth 1, 8, 3 in booth 2, 3 and 17 for Guckian, 119 and 90 for Kenny, 8 and 5 for McManus, 19 and 25 for McSharry.
You do the numbers.
Okay. 28 and 48 for McLaughlin. 1 and 2 for Murray. 4 and 9 for O'Hara. O'Hora 2 and 4. 8 and 1 for O'Keefe. 47 and 26 for O'Rourke. 6 and 1 for Perry, 39 and 27 for Reynolds, 23 and 13 for Scanlon, and 0 for Sweeney. That's Drumkeerdon Booth 1 and 2.
All right, we thought we were a bingo there for a moment, John. Thanks for that, John. That's Drumkeerdon, isn't that right?
Well, I've taken that from Francie and Kevin, as they call the numbers.
Well, and you have the right speed and all. Okay.
Okay, Marian's going to go through Merville Community Centre, booth 1, 2 and 3. Niall, you might do the names from the start there. So Bree to start.
So Bree is 52. Let me just check again now. Yes, 52, 36 and 54. And then the next one is Casserly, 10, 5 and 5. And the next is
Finbar Filan,
5, 4 and 7. And
Nigel
Gallagher, 22, 11 and 12.
Des
Guckian just got 1 vote between all 3.
Okay, then Martin Kenny
got 8 and 4, 12 and 10, 22 altogether.
Okay, Chris McManus is his home territory, of course.
Yes, just to make sure I get these right.
Yeah.
He got 80, 57 and 97. I think that's about 234 votes altogether, so a very good vote there for Chris McManus.
In the West Ward area, his home patch. Mark McSharry?
37, 35 and 35. That's 107 altogether.
Tony McLaughlin?
Tony got 24, 26 and 32, which is 82 votes altogether.
Okay, Emma Murray got 1.
Just 1, yeah.
Okay, and Bernie O'Hara?
Got 20 altogether.
Leslie O'Hara got 4.
4 altogether.
Okay, next up is Susan O'Keefe.
39 altogether.
And then Paddy O'Rourke?
2 altogether.
John Perry?
13 and 8, 21 and... sorry now. Marvel, I'm just making sure I get the right one.
It's 8, 8 and 9.
8, 8 and 9, yes.
Okay, that's John Perry. Jerry Reynolds?
2, 3 and 3.
Yeah, Eamon Scanlon?
Just to make sure again. 18, is that correct?
Yeah,
18,
correct.
6 and 5.
Yeah, and then finally Bernard Sweeney got 8 votes.
Yeah, so a great vote there for Chris McManus, but as you say, it's home territory.
That's Merville Community Centre, 3 booths.
John will have Killinumry. They're looking for John.
Oh yes,
Right on the border with Sligo, out there in North Leitrim, just south of Drumahare, isn't it, Marian?
Yeah.
Bree.
South of the border, John.
Bree 9, Casserly 8, Filan 4, Gallagher 4, Guckian 0, Kenny 39, McManus 14, McSharry 42, McLaughlin 50, Murray 0, O'Hara 44, O'Hara 10, O'Keefe 7, O'Rourke 11, Perry 10, and I've gone off my line there. 10, 7 for O'Keefe, 11 for O'Rourke, 10 for Perry, 15 for Reynolds, 29 for Scanlon, and 0 for Sweeney. So I don't know, did we hit the jackpot there or not? I don't think we did.
Yeah. Sorry, Marian, you're making...
Killinumry would be Bernie O'Hara's. She did very well there.
Yeah, okay. That's 50 votes, was it, for Bernie O'Hara?
I can't see it now, John.
It wasn't.
I think it was, was it 40?
44.
44. So that was
Tony
a good vote for
McLaughlin
her.
actually got more votes than her Killinumry, incidentally. Okay, I'll tell you what we'll do, just get a bit of perspective on this. We're going to go for our 6 o'clock news break, just to get an update on the national picture, and we get an update maybe in the rugby as well. England's still in front. I know there are a lot of queries about Bundoran boxes, and we'll do these boxes after 6 o'clock, I promise. We're expecting the first count, John. We have the tallies in since 3:15. First count between 7 and 8. Is that still the case?
Well, I think it'll still be closer to 8 o'clock. I said 8 o'clock, so we'll still go for 20 hundreds hours.
2,000 hours for the first count. Okay, and just remember, for those who are watching this and listening to this and accessing it online, the count will not be finished today, or not even close to it. It'll be going into tomorrow, well into tomorrow. And I think what we're hearing, John, is that we're going to finish proceedings at 11 o'clock tonight. Is that what you're hearing back?
That's my understanding, that it'll be 11 o'clock. Hopefully we might have 4 counts by then.
Okay, but nobody elected, you would say?
Oh Lord, no, not at all. There won't even be anybody near being elected.
Yeah, okay. And
so we should have definitely 3 counts.
Okay, and I know Big Barang, what time they should get up in the morning and listen and watch us. We don't know yet. It's usually later on the Sunday, I think, isn't it?
It may very well be. It may very well be 10 o'clock again. I don't know. I'll find out for the listeners.
We'll update you on that.
It's very good to get up early in the morning.
Well, you're right, John. This is indeed. Right, 6 o'clock news is next. Back in a moment. with some interest. So between sport and politics, you have it. All we need now is Ireland are ahead. Actually, Ireland are ahead by 10 points to 9 at the moment in the rugby, which is good news. We'll keep you up to date with that. Okay, I know more people want to hear more figures, Francie. Before that, I was talking to one analyst who won't go public on it yet, but maybe he'll go public on it later on. And his analysis, and he's challenging us to bet against him. He's saying that Fine Gael are going to get 2 seats in Sligo Leitrim. He says Reynolds and McLaughlin are going to get seats, and he's also predicting that Martin Kenny will get the seat for Sinn Féin. So that's an interesting prediction. 2 seats for Fine Gael and 2 Leitrim seats, which Francie Boylan will be delighted with.
I'm impartial, Niall, as you know. Now, if you have any questions or comments or anything like that, you can text them 083 3500 530. You can tweet at Ocean FM Ireland using the hashtag Sligo Leitrim, or indeed just go onto Facebook, Ocean FM Ireland, and the details are there. Marian is with us, and people are asking for specific boots. So, Marian, do you want to start with Clifney, is it?
Yeah. Just again, if you don't mind, just throwing in a national one, because a lot of people will be interested. I just got a text. John Burton and not secure. There's 75 votes between her and Ruth Coppinger, so I'd say a lot of nails being chewed there. But yes, local is what matters here. So we totted up the Bundoran boxes because somebody was looking for them.
Yeah.
So there are 3 boxes, and these are the totals for the Bundoran boxes. We have Declan Bree on 55, Marie Casserly on 59, Phelan on 15, Gallagher on 31, Guckian 6, Kenny 53, McManus 302, great vote there for Chris McManus, and McSherry 321, another big vote. McLaughlin 95. Who's next? Murray 2, O'Hara 10, O'Hora 9, O'Keefe 11, O'Rourke 6, Perry 47, Reynolds 49, Scanlon 14, and Sweeney 1. So those are the totals from the 3 Bundoran boxes.
Bundoran boxes, which people were interested in as well. Okay, Francie, what else?
You have Bundoran, Marian.
Clifney as well.
Oh, you're Clifney, yeah.
I have the 2 boxes in Clifney totaled.
Yeah.
So the total for the 2 boxes are Declan Bree on 75, Marie Casserly on 108, Finbar Phelan on 9, Gallagher on 35, Guckian on 4, Kenny 17, McManus 72, McSherry 170, McLaughlin 94, Murray 1, O'Hara 11, O'Hora 8, O'Keefe 12, O'Rourke 1, Perry 57, Reynolds 26, Scanlon 52, and Sweeney 0. So those are the totals of the Clifney boxes, and as you can see, McSherry getting a great vote there at 170, Marie Castley doing very well, 108, Bree doing well, etc. So that's the story of those boxes.
Yeah, and I remember we spoke about Clifney many hours ago, and
yes.
it was one of the early indicators that Mark McSherry was doing as well as he eventually ended up doing.
Yeah, more coming in. Manor Hamilton, Marian, you might go through them now. You might go to start with the names, if that's all right. 3 booths in the Manor Hamilton area, the community centre there. So first we start with Bree, Marian.
So his total is 37.
Sorry, 1 second, Marie.
His total is 37, 15, 15 and 7. And the next one is Marie Casserly, who has 18 and 16, 34 and 13 is 47. And I'm sure I'll make a mistake in this, but here goes. The next one is Finbar Phelan, who's on 5. The next one is Gallagher on 29. The next one is Guckian on 6. The next one is Kenny. Let me see, that's 7. Is that a 6?
That's it,
I think it's 170. Anyway, I'll give you
173, I mean.
Good man, Niall, you're way ahead of me. McManus is 5 and 7, 12 and 3, 15. And then you have McSherry, who's on 52, 34 and 29, which is a total of what?
115.
115. Then you have McLaughlin on 56, 21 and 23, which is a total of?
100.
exactly. Murray on 6, 3 and 17, and of course that's close enough to Black Lion, which is Murray's own home territory. O'Hara 11, is that a 9? I think it is.
9,
and
yep.
12, which is 32. O'Hora 9, 1 and 9. O'Keefe 10, 6 and 7. O'Rourke 34, 26 and 39, I think, which is a total of
99.
99. And then you have Perry 14, 12 and 11, which is 37. You have Reynolds 41, 47 and 42, which is 129. And you have Scanlon 35, 18 and 41, which is, I think it's 94, a good
94
vote there.
right,
yeah. And then we have Sweeney, which is 1 vote. So that's the 3 Manor Hamilton boxes totaled.
Okay. If anybody would like any more of the boxes for your area, you can give us a text 083 3500 530 or tweet at Ocean FM Ireland and use the hashtag Sligo Leitrim. People are looking for Gertrude as well, which we might get to. We'll get to that in a second.
Okay. Sorry, you're working. Please, because people want to hear all
I just got a text again to say Maureen O'Sullivan looks likely to lose her seat.
Okay.
And that'll be the Tony Gregory dynasty
that's
was
going
there.
back to 81, as far as I remember, isn't it? To Tony Gregory.
To the famous deal with Haughey. I sat beside Tony Gregory in the Dáil.
Yeah.
I was Harkin in beside Gregory and Higgins. If Maureen loses her seat, that will be a big disappointment there. And as I said, the end of that run of independent seats.
Okay, is that still Dublin Central, or was that constituency moved? As far as I think,
it may have been moved, but I'm not sure. There's no point in my saying. Roisin Shortall is elected, which means the 3 Social Democrats, Catherine Murphy, Stephen Donnelly and Roisin have been elected. I don't know if they'll elect any more TVs.
Okay, and you were saying earlier that Mary Hanifin has conceded defeat, which is one of the big surprises of the day, because there were some people suggesting not only was she going to top the poll, but...
Well, what happened there was the 2 Fine Gael ladies there was nothing between them. I'd say if there was 200 votes on 10,000 plus each of them, and Hanifin was down on 6-9 or something, so even with her colleague transferring to her, it was going to be very difficult. I thought she might have had a chance, but obviously she's conceded defeat. Alex White has gone.
He's gone.
And Micheál Martin and Michael McGrath both elected on the first count.
All right, well, Alex White is interesting because he has, as we know, family connections up in the Giva area. As far as I know, it's a Giva or Gertrude. I always get mixed up. I think it's Giva up around Conway's Cross. So Alex White.
So can I thank Marie Henry from my office, who's busily sending me in all of these texts. Thank you, Marie.
Which is very, very important. And I suppose it begs the question, well, again, I think it was Noel was giving out to me for spelling the demise and talking about future party leaders. But, I mean, if Alex White is gone and Joan Burton, whether she gets in or not, if her leadership is under pressure, I'm just wondering who's left.
Well, of course, Alan Kelly.
Well, I'm just wondering how did Alan Kelly get on?
I wonder how Tipperary will go. We heard Michael Lowry top the poll, but I would be surprised from insider knowledge that I have in Tipperary if Alan Kelly isn't elected.
You think he will be elected?
Oh, yes, and himself and Lowry are neck and neck on everything, but I don't know whether they'll be on the votes or not, but I think Kelly will pull in the vote. I know he had a huge crew canvassing for him, etc. That doesn't always tell, but I'll be surprised if he's not elected.
Okay, just a reminder again, if you need reminded that we're here for the duration. We will be here all day today, this evening, until however long it takes. About 11 o'clock we're expected to come to an end tonight. John estimates we'll have 4 counts done by then, but nobody elected tonight. Nobody elected in Sligo Leitrim tonight, and we'll resume again then in the morning and go on until whenever. At this stage, I presume it looks like, John, would you feel that to be the case, that it looks like we're going to be here until well into tomorrow evening? Is that what you'd feel? We're going to be here well into tomorrow evening, John?
Oh yes, at least. At the very minimum. We're certainly not expecting the first count until 8 o'clock anyway.
Okay.
And they've been very meticulous. Just for example, I've seen one candidate there where people had voted right the way down to 18. The number one went to a particular particular candidate, but there were 2 number 2s on it. Now, I thought that would have been something for the second count, but it's been queried at this time because there are 2 number 2s on the ballot paper as to whether the number 1 will actually go to that candidate or not. So that's the sort of nitty detail that we're down to at this stage. So
they're not discussing spoiled votes yet, now, are they?
No. This is what I've observed. What's happening.
As usual, you're well ahead of the posse, John, as usual. I'm saying you're well ahead of the posse. I thought you were discussing spoiled votes for a minute, but no, you observed that yourself.
Well, it technically is a spoiled vote when it comes to the second count, but because there's 2 number 2s on it, but it shows that the detail of examination of the ballot papers is so intense now that they're not prepared to take the chance and let that number 1 go, as Marian well knows that would have happened in the past. It is a number 1. The number 1 is clearly there.
It's not only bad news for Fine Gael and Labour, it's bad news for Ireland at the moment as well. We're now 14-10 down against England after 60 minutes. So England leading by 14 points then after 60 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, well, the other thing I would say about, spoiled votes, I can't remember this exactly, but I'm sure John will know. Remember the recent case where the councillor went to court about it, and because somebody started with a number 2, that was taken as the highest preference, but the court threw that out. And I remember during the European elections, John, there were, I won't say a substantial number of ballot papers, but there was quite a number where people might vote 1, 2, 3 in the locals and then go 4, 5, 6 in the Europeans, or vice versa. So a lot of those things will have to be adjudicated on. Obviously we won't have that here, but as you say, that's how close people are calling this here if they are disputing those papers.
Willie Penrose in serious difficulty in Longford Westmeath, and Emmett Stagg also in serious danger of losing his seat.
Willie is an institution in Longford Westmeath.
Also under pressure are James Riley, we mentioned that earlier, Jimmy Deenahan down in Kerry, Paulie Coffey down in, is he Waterford, I think Paulie Coffey is from, and Joe McHugh in Donegal. Apparently is said to be under pressure.
But Donegal is a 5-seater.
So we would assume that he'd be safe, but they're suggesting now that he might be under pressure. But anyway,
and who are they suggesting will take the seat?
Well, they're just outlining the big names that could be in difficulty, and they mentioned Joe McHugh. Certainly, there wasn't our information earlier. Okay, I see Brian Hayes is still saying, Director of Elections for Fine Gael, there's still a possibility of a rainbow coalition government involving Fine Gael at the helm. I don't know if that's grasping at straws at this stage, or we'll have to wait and see.
Well, I suppose there's always a possibility, but it doesn't go beyond that.
Yeah. Okay, well.
West Cavan.
West Cavan.
Okay, sorry, West Cavan. Yeah, we want the final. Is it the final tally figures for West Cavan? Okay, well, let's bring those up.
Okay,
Marian,
John, do you have them there? Well, I have them here. Bree on. This is West Cavan. Bree on 1% with 37 votes in total. Casserly on 1% with 89 votes in total. Phelan on 1% with 94 votes in total. Gallagher on 1% with 85 votes in total. Guckian on 1% with 70 votes in total. Keaney on 18% with 1,111 votes in total. McManus on 2% with 102 votes. That is some vote management when you look at that there, to manage that between the 2 Sinn Féin candidates in a county that neither of them are from. I think we hear shush.
5 or 10 minutes. Any of the agents or the candidates, we have limited space here, but we'll fit everybody that wants to come. But it'll be one person for each candidate. So if whoever wishes to do so are welcome to come up. We'll do it in about 5-10 minutes, and just make your way up on the left-hand side, and you'll be allowed entry into the count centre. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the spoiled votes that John was talking about a moment. That would suggest to me, John, that we're not too far off a first count.
I mean, it'll take quite a bit of time. There are quite a number of them.
Number of spoiled votes?
There are quite a number of votes to be adjudicated on.
Are there?
Yes, there are.
Which is interesting.
There are. Quite a number.
I'm always interested
including one that had actually written on it, "I live in Cavan," right down in the boxes.
I'm always interested to hear what is written on votes, spoiled votes, and what way people are thinking.
Will I finish the West Cavan one?
Oh, sorry, yeah,
no, it's
keep
fine.
going with West Cavan.
Move it over there a little bit for me. So I said good vote management there between the two Sinn Féin candidates. And then we have on 7% Mark McSharry on 434. On 3% Tony McLaughlin on 208. 2% Murray 156, and he'd of course be expecting a vote there because that's his home territory. O'Hara 2% with 151. O'Hora 1% with 42. O'Keefe 1% with 85, O'Rourke 29% with 1844. Again, we spoke about that earlier because of where he lives. That's a very good showing. Perry 2% at 119, Reynolds 25%, 1600 votes, another substantial vote there. Scandon 1% at 63, and Sweeney 0. So obviously West Cavan gave 18% to Sinn Féin, but O'Rourke is the big winner there on 29% of the vote. He will be very satisfied with that, I have no doubt.
Okay, we're going to go
and Reynolds on 25, of course. A solid party vote, which was to be expected.
Okay, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be just going around the count centre talking to a few of the people and the guests who are here, and there are a lot of people who we will be very interested to hear from. It's not looking good for Ireland. 2 tries in 3 minutes for England, and England are now 21-10 ahead after 66 minutes. I think Sexton almost got a try, and they're looking at the TMO, but it's not looking like Ireland got a try. So it looks like we're in sorry.
Sorry, Niall, I keep interrupting you. Just a small national thing again, and this would not be good news for Fianna Fáil. Colm Keaney eliminated in Galway East.
Okay.
Remember Colm?
Yeah, why will that not be good news for Fianna Fáil?
Well, he's running for Fianna Fáil. He was Labour.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
But of course, what has happened there is that Sean Keaney, the independent, is the same area to him, and Sean headed the poll. So, and Colm Keaney, they were hoping would have taken over. His name has gone out of my head now, his seat, but that will be a disappointment. I'm not sure how the rest of the constituency is going, but Colm Keaney would have hoped to. Oh, yeah, Michael Kitt's seat. That's actually the seat should have been looking at there.
O'Keefe, obviously.
Well, O'Keefe's Galway West. He'll fly in. Yeah, he'll fly in.
Right, we'll take a quick break. Back in a couple of moments at the Clarion Hotel.
Welcome to this week's Sligo County Matters. Coming up on this evening's show, we're here at Hazelwood in County Sligo, where we're going to meet Beatrix and Wendy and hear about the Wynne family who lived in Hazelwood House and the history of the house as well. We're also going out to Lachine in Strandhill to the Strandhill Show and Craft Fair. But first, we're off to Ballymote to Eagles Flying. Hi Clay, and thank you very much for having us here today. So it all started with the National College of Art and Design, where you studied art.
Yeah, it did. Gosh, I wasn't expecting to go back that far. Yes, I graduated in, when did I graduate?
1991?
91, yes. I did.
We're out in Keash in County Sligo, where John Wilmot is going to take us up to the caves of Kesh. Tonight we're here in Call of the Wild on Castle Street in Sligo, and we have a big treat in store because we're going to meet Mingma and Pasang Sharpa, 2 of 7 brothers who hold the Guinness World Record for climbing Mount Everest 54 times. Let's go and hear what they have to say. Lay her egg on the kitchen table, do you think? It's okay. She has to do what she has to do. So will the egg? So will the eggs? Oh my God! Oh wow, John, this is amazing.
This is what survives of the original cloister.
I'm here on Water Lane in the centre of Sligo town, and today we have found a little hidden gem. It's called Heads You In. I'm going to go inside to have a look at this treasure trove of beautiful hats, vintage clothes. Well, Carol, this is a treasure trove of beautiful...
England 21, Ireland 10, Fianna Fáil 1, Fine Gael 1, Sinn Féin 1, possibly 2 to the floor. Well, this is a bit of a departure. We've been talking non-stop for the past, 11 and a half hours. Let's go on to the floor. Our reporter, Harry Keaney, is down on the floor talking to some guests. First to Councillor Seamus Kilgannon, Fianna Fáil Councillor. Harry.
I'm here with Councillor Seamus Kilgannon, former Director of Elections for Fianna Fáil. Seamus, this is a very momentous day for the party.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think we can pick that up. We'll try and get that link back in a moment. Harry's talking to Seamus. We'll try and restore that link in a moment on Radio Mike. Sorry, Francie, somebody was asking about Ross Inver, was it?
Sorry, I think we can go back to Harry.
Yeah, okay. Back to Harry and Seamus Kilgannon. No, let's go with Ross Inver. Okay, somebody was asking about Ross Inver, the box in Ross Inver. As I scroll through it here, and can I see Ross Inver? I actually can't see Ross Inver. Can you?
It'll be Ballymeen.
Oh, Ballymeen, sorry, yeah.
Ballymeen would be the area there, and it's just it's clicking up here now. By the way, just if anybody's got Ballymeen there, yeah, see it there.
Okay, right. Bree is on 8. Martin McMahon on 71. Mark McSherry on... Oh, sorry, I'll have to go back at that. No, I'll have to go back. I can't read it because the spreadsheet is too...
Okay, right.
We really need 2 people to read those things. I'll come back. Apologies. We'll come back to Ballymeen and Ross Inver. Right, hopefully, third time lucky. Harry with Councillor Seamus.
Councillor Seamus Kilgannon from Sligo. You're a former Director of Elections for the party. This is a very momentous day.
Well, it certainly is, looking at how our candidates have performed exceptionally well. I mean, Mark McSherry is on almost 9,000 votes. Eamon Scanlon is on almost 6,000 votes, and Paddy O'Rourke has done extremely well in Leitrim with over 5,000 votes. And let's hope at the end of it that we will get the result that we deserve here, and that is that we will get the 2 seats. But I just want to say also to compliment Micheál Martin on his leadership of the party, and I suppose going back to the Ardèche, he certainly gave one of the best speeches that I've ever heard a Fianna Fáil leader given at an Ardèche, and he sent the troops off charged up to get involved in fighting this election, and it reminds me of the 92 election, and that we were to do it all again and realise that we could have picked more candidates, and some of our politicians, our senior politicians in particular, I want to be fairly critical of them. They were protecting their own patch a little bit too much, and we could have been in there fighting for another 3 or 4 seats if some of those people weren't so greedy, and to make sure that they got home regardless of what might happen to the party. And it's something that's going to have to be looked at into the future. There are areas in constituencies where we have too little seats. There are very few that we have too many in, but however, that's for another day.
Seamus, the change in fortunes for Fianna Fáil is all the more extraordinary when you consider that at the last elections the country was bankrupt and Fianna Fáil paid the price on that occasion. Do you think people have to a large extent forgiven Fianna Fáil at this stage?
Well, I think the people of Ireland understand that what happened, it was the whole economy crashed, but I mean, we didn't have Fianna Fáil organising in Greece, we didn't have Fianna Fáil organising
organised in Poland. We didn't have Fianna Fáil organising all over Europe. And I think people, particularly after the banking inquiry, they realise that maybe at the end of the day it wasn't all Fianna Fáil's fault. We have apologised for some of the mistakes that were made, but we didn't make them all. And for that reason, they realise that we are a caring party that do look after the less privileged in our society. And I would hope that whatever happens from here on in, that all of us will remind the party leadership and the TDs that represent us that they better make sure that it's a fair, we talked about a fair Ireland and Ireland for all, and that all people in society have to be looked after, not just the well-off.
When it comes to forming a government and the issue of coalition, who would you like to see Fianna Fáil going into government with if that scenario arises?
Well, you probably am not the best person to ask about this, because I believe that the people have had their say. They have basically, it would appear that Fianna Fáil are going to come in the order of 45 seats, maybe Fine Gael on 49. The people have spoken. We have a responsibility as a party of that size to make sure that this country gets a government. However that is put together, I don't know. If popular opinion is saying, maybe 70% of the public are saying, we need a government from what the electorate have said to us, then I think we can't ignore public opinion, and that whatever pride is at stake, people might have to swallow that pride and get on with doing the job they have been elected to do. And if it means forming a government with another party like Fine Gael, so be it.
Mark McSharry seems certain to take a seat here. Where do you see the second seat going? Do you see Paddy O'Rourke or Eamon Scanlon?
Well, it would appear that I think myself that the only one I'm to know that at this particular point in time, the only certainty for a seat in Sligo, Leitrim, South Donegal and West Cavan is Mark McSharry. The other people, we know the parties are going to take them more than likely, but I cannot put a name on them. I just hope, because I'm a Fianna Fáil man, that it will be Eamon Scanlon that will take it. That would be a great day for us. I hope it works out like that. But I don't think, I've been talking to a lot of experts in the hall, and no one can honestly say with any certainty as to who's going to take that seat.
I know you're obviously a Fianna Fáil man, but do you think Fine Gael made a mistake with their slogan, keep the recovery going?
Well, I was at the debate. Niall chaired it. I said it on the night. I asked the question, how can you keep something going if it never started? As far as I'm concerned, and as the people have had their say in the ballot box, the recovery never started in this part of the country, and I mean I'm open to country. I would argue that for a long time we didn't get the recovery that was happening on the East Coast, and to put out a slogan like that, I think it was wrong. And if you want to, the election has been held now, but the slogan was wrong from day one, and it hasn't lifted the votes in Sligo. And
would you say that that's the main reason that people have returned to Fianna Fáil here in this constituency?
Harry, I gave an interview to Niall out in the Count Centre at the last general election, and I said at the time that Fianna Fáil were in government for 14 years. For the first 10, there were reasonable people to deal with, but the last 4 they got very arrogant. This government got arrogant nearly from the word go. It certainly didn't take them too long to become arrogant, and they should realise that it's the people at the end of the day that decides who represents them, and we need fairness in society, and I think that's what's one of the things that was missing from this government. They looked after the well-to-do and they looked after the East Coast. You must spread the recovery, you must spread it all over the country.
You could say, Seamus, that the recovery in Fianna Fáil's fortunes started at the last local elections. This, to an extent, would you see it as a continuation of that? Even though a lot of people will say to you that local and national elections are completely different scenarios.
Well, where I'm concerned, and I've been a long time involved in Fianna Fáil, I was actually, believe it or not, was old enough to be around in the 1965 general election. So I've been, Ray McSharry, I heard him saying there earlier today, was 50 years at it. 65 and today's date is 50 years. As regards the recovery, I was always a believer in Micheál Martin from the time he got the leadership, that he was doing a very, very good job. He encouraged his parliamentary party, he encouraged his councillors, and he put a lot of effort into trying to get a good local election for us. We had an excellent local elections here in this county. and throughout the country. You might say, well, it was the luck of the draw, but that's the reality. It's the luck on the day. And we got a very, very good result here. We left the Sligo chamber with 7 councillors out of 25. We went back in with 8 out of 18. That was a very, very good day in Sligo. And it started, people got a bit of confidence, and then they got to start preparing for the general election. And whatever would be the result here, our vote is very well up on what was around here in 2011.
As you say yourself, Seamus, you're a long time around politics, you're a long time around Fianna Fáil politics. It must be like harking back to old times when you see the scenario repeating itself here of a McSherry topping the poll.
Well, we're delighted for Mark, and I mean, to be honest, he deserves the result he's getting here today, because he has worked extremely hard in planning for this campaign. He didn't just leave it until the election was called. He's been out there working out in the towns and villages, making his presence felt and asking the people what did they want, and it has paid off for him here today. I want to congratulate him and his success, and also to Eamon Scanlon and Paddy O'Rourke for their efforts, and let's hope it brings the rewards for them.
Have you been talking to Mark's father, Ray, at all?
I was talking to him earlier on, yeah, and obviously he's delighted. We all are, because I mean, it just shows you, as someone said by another party some time ago, we haven't gone away yet, Harry.
Thanks very much, Seamus. Appreciate it.
No bother. Bye.
Thanks for that, Harry, and thanks for handing back to me here back at base. Niall just taking a little bit of a break at the moment. We're going to go back down onto the floor and we're going to get a Leitrim perspective.
So I'm joined here by Peter Reynolds, who is the brother of Jerry Reynolds, candidate obviously in the Sligo Leitrim constituency, and obviously a well-known former TD senator and councillor.
Has conceded the end, so
he got. Politics, and your own father, your late father, was a former TD and senator as well.
yes, and my grandmother beforehand and grandfather. So Jared decided to go back into it after 13 years out. So he retired from the council the last. So
and when he retired, goodbye. We're never going to see you again. But
that's right. Back. Yeah, so he's back now. So he polled very well, and the help and the support we got, and we had a great, very good machine. We have no regrets from that point of view. So hopefully it'll turn the corner for us, and we get the right breaks tonight or tomorrow. More than likely it's going to be tomorrow. So another day tomorrow. So there's 10,000 votes to be distributed first now, and then take it from there. So.
And I know you yourself are based over in the UK. Is there an interest in the election here or over there, or are they kind of watching it? I know Cameron was giving Keaney his backing anyway.
Oh, they are. Well, there's lots of fellas, I'd say, they're watching the rugby at the moment. Ireland were losing by a few points, but most of them, loads of them are texting through to see how it's going on, but they have as much information now thanks to Ocean FM and everyone else as quick as we have it here. So once they're a few lads there watching the match in the anchor without someone else, so we'll not do the Healy Rays anyway. So
absolutely. Well, Peter Reynolds, listen, brother of Jerry Reynolds, thanks a million today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a million.
Yeah, and coming to counts, Jackie.
And took land out this. Sure, I will down. Only right to say. I know I definitely could have been.
Counts for every election.
And I was sick. It was very good to me. The ex-slag, I was able to walk, and he dragged me along. And so was Stephen. I lived beside him, and of course, Gabriel Og is only 50 years from me. Gabriel Og, Sherry.
Do you mind me asking you, Jackie, what age you are?
I celebrated my 80th birthday the 1st of January.
And you're still enthusiastic about politics as the day began?
I am.
What is it about politics that grabs you so much?
Sure, you have to have some sport and politics. That's all I'm interested in.
Sport and politics?
I was in Ireland and race walking.
Politics is a kind of a sport itself, although it's a very brutal sport.
It's tougher than any race, or tougher than any marathon. I done a marathon this year, but I done 25 in a row, and then I got sick, and this was my 27th marathon to do last October. But politics is definitely tough.
What counts would have stood out in your mind over the years?
The 69 one. McSharry came from nowhere.
Who else was in the election that year?
Joe McLaughlin. He was very popular. He lives on the border, I think. Out in Carty this time now it was split. McSharry might have got more votes than McLaughlin, but Joe McLaughlin was a real decent man. So now, and it was split between McSharry and McLaughlin. But no doubt that it's great to see them back again, and there's a lot of smiling Fianna Fáil faces here today.
There is a kind of a repeat of history, isn't there? Because, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Joe McLaughlin of which you speak, he'd have been, is it an uncle of Tony McLaughlin?
He's still fighting for. I hope he gets the Fine Gael seat.
So you had a McLaughlin and a McSharry in the 1969 election, and again you have them here all these years later.
You have them here. That's that. Thanks for reminding me. No, Adam McLaughlin was a very decent. Joe McLaughlin couldn't be tonight. I'm involved in regattas too, and the first regattas I ever held was at Parks Castle in 1960, and Joe McLaughlin gave out the prizes that night with a powerful dance above in the Marian Hall in 1960. I was looking at a photograph of it the other day. That will make history if and McSharry are back again.
History repeats itself to an extent.
It does.
You, not alone in local politics, have a great interest in, but also national politics, because I saw you at previous counts, and you almost always have your radio. The national.
A few seats in it.
For you, a man that's a staunch Fianna Fáil supporter, how would you feel about Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael coming together in a coalition?
No, I wouldn't like it. No, the real old Fianna Fáil wouldn't know. They wouldn't like the bandits that would Fine Gael. So I don't understand. Of course, they'll have to sort out a government. They wouldn't like to see
Paul coming together.
The fellow at the hotel, what do you call him in Donegal? McNiff in Donegal. I'd second that.
And how would you feel?
I wouldn't like to see them in opposition party. No.
Okay.
Fianna Fáil would have to stay. My advice to Fianna Fáil is stay they were there. Let Keaney and them cobble up our government. That's my opinion.
Right, you'd obviously share the view that parties that go into coalition often suffer in the long run.
She look at Labour, handful of seats this time.
Okay. Well, Jackie, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Of the night with the
votes and
the seat.
Crunching them there for the last couple of.
Well, it's impossible. Business will happen when we're down to the last 6 or 7 candidates, and to get there we have over 20,000 votes to distribute. Now it's impossible to get an exact tally on that at this occasion. As the counts progress, we will of course get close. Would be that through his percent of the campaign was out there. It was actually a very low. And we're finished after it comes into play.
People's radar as again.
They're not. For the next 2 or 3, I haven't even been following the national one, but I think 20. It's a changing stage for the next few elections. It's going to take a few, whether it's.
Thanks very much.
Michael Kilcoyne in that past hour, and I'll come back to Noel. Here the scene. the trend. Has arrived.
And I said, so if this is to take the position to take.
Yeah, the one seat and fighting for the second seat, and there is a big fight ahead. In terms of the candidates that are left in the race,
there could be a fight between yourself and your colleague as well. I mean, I know it's difficult for you, and it's going to be a long 2 days, but. What are your feelings on it? I mean, first of all, do you think honestly there are possibility of 2 seats there for Sinn Féin?
There's massive geographical factors here. You know, there's a Leitrim dynamic, there's a South Sligo dynamic. There's a Sligo urban area dynamic, and I have to say, just at the very start, a number of things is firstly, I took the second highest vote in Sligo town, which for Sinn Féin is a milestone for us. I've beaten, if the tally is correct, a sitting TD, a sitting senator, and the highest first-time ever candidate in this race. So there are massive pluses for Sinn Féin in this. We've maximised, we've taken nearly 20% of the vote in the constituency. People said that Sinn Féin, didn't have, they're writing us off when we said we were going to run 2 candidates. Our strategy proved correct. We've maximised the vote. We've taken nearly 20% of the vote. 1 in 5 voters in the constituency. It's well above what we're getting across the state. So we're very, very happy with the result.
Okay, you know what they're saying. I'm sure you don't want to be reminded of it at this early stage in proceedings. But they're saying because you in the shake-up and you may have the edge on your colleague Martin Keaney.
Well, as I said, there are geographical factors at play here. Yes, there are about 10,000 plus Sligo County-based votes to be, if it goes the way the tallies would indicate of candidates when they were being eliminated. But some real people with big votes, some of them based in Leitrim, that will hopefully transfer to him. Look, as I said, obviously. But the most important thing is Sinn Féin takes one in very much in play.
Are you nervous?
Since
just don't have any preference. As long as you're happy enough. Will be disappointed considering the way you were shown in the polls.
We're definitely not disappointed. We're very my age and Sean McManus' age know when we had only one TD, Cavan O'Quillan, and we know how much our organisation has been built from that point onwards, and we are certainly going to increase into the 20s with our TDs, and we are very happy with our performance.
Chris, same question to you. I'm sure you've got the local
real players on the local scene.